Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe where we help and heal one day at a time. I have something that's kind of interesting that I'd like to share with you guys. This is based on childhood trauma, but it actually is something that I've been going through in the injustice trauma. So I do believe it can kind of relate with what we're going through, depending on what happened in your narcissistic relationship, because we do go through traumas as well. So the rejection trauma, there's certain things that kind of go on within our brain. If you were rejected, you'll easily make negative assumptions about what others are thinking. So you kind of start having a negative thought process. You'll worry about letting people in. So, sometimes it's hard to trust again because we've been rejected. And often, if you have that rejection trauma, some of you will find compromising difficult. I'm still willing to compromise, but we need to set up our boundaries. So sometimes that might relate to that too. And abandonment trauma. Now this one gives you a certain fear about being left behind or abandoned. A lot of times in these narcissistic relationships, you might start feeling that trauma bond because you are afraid of being left. It's hard, once again, to trust again. So it can give you an inability to form healthy relationships in the teenage or adult years if it happened in childhood. And we got to be strong during this time that we don't allow it to affect our adulthood relationships negatively. Often with the abandonment trauma, it can cause low self-esteem and also I believe it's like a loss of self. It says low feeling of self. So you just kind of don't have the same self-esteem. You also don't quite feel yourself anymore. Now, the injustice trauma, in this picture, it shows like a lot of stuff going on. Profound feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, disruption of the usual sense of safety and predictability. And often with this trauma bond, we kind of assumed that or were led to believe that we had some predictability, that we could rely on the person, and they cause us so many injustices that we can't really tell what's going to happen next because they're very sporadic and not consistent. And this can cause some moodiness or irritability because we got so much going on in our brain. Also, betrayal trauma, trouble recognizing, expressing, or managing our emotions. So sometimes, we're not exactly sure, like, what's the underlying cause? We're just always, sometimes we're on edge or just want to cry. We get depressed, anxious, other mental health symptoms. There can also be physical pain. I feel it in my chest and also my arms. It's really weird. It's like shock waves go over me, and that's been going on for years. So the sooner you get out of these relationships, I did like a 30-year type thing between two people, a lot of emotional stress. I'm still getting back to who I am. So you can have that physical pain and stomach stress. So that's why, as you're going through your rumination, try to refocus your brain. You can rewire it. It's going to take some actual physical effort, mental effort. Get out there and start doing things, start taking care of yourselves. Watch out for red flags within other people. 20-25% of the world is narcissistic. There is some healthy narcissism, but in mild doses. You don't always have to be completely forthcoming with people, but if you're in a real relationship, just like if I've done it where I've lied because I didn't want somebody to know where I lived. And sometimes too, if you respond in a certain way, they're gonna know the answer. So sometimes it's for protection, because you don't want people knowing where you live all the time or where you're going, what you're up to. So narcissists will use that to protect their entire being, and they do it to an extreme where it's extremely unhealthy because they lie about things that don't need to be lied about. They also lie about reality. to where, you know, you make a statement, they always have to cut it down. They always have to counteract it. They love to argue. And it starts giving you an unstable foundation within your own life. You start to lose who you are just on the way that they talk. You know, and I went through a lot of silent treatment. They didn't know what to say. Or they didn't like that I was emotional. You know, and so they just silent treat you. They're very hard to communicate with. Sometimes the way that they communicate with us, it's hard to spot red flags, because we always try to see the good in people, and we're forgiving. They take that for granted. But I thought it was really important to discuss the different kinds of traumas. They're acting certain ways because of the trauma they went through. They're not going to change. Their brain is set in that state. So even if they do try to change, they don't have the desire to continue on changing, because they don't feel it's themselves. They don't want to alter their sense of reality. They did it to latch onto us, because if they don't do that, then people aren't going to interact with them if they show their true selves. And you know, just like not that you should lie, but let's say you didn't have your high school diploma. Nobody's hiring unless you have a high school diploma, and you're like, I'm an adult, I'm never going to get a job unless I lie. And if you're in that like desperation mode, you know, people find a way to survive. And that's kind of with the narcissist, is they're trying to find a way in the society that doesn't accept them as they are. So it would be like a person, you know, lying about having a high school diploma just so they can survive in life. Not condoning that, but it's an example. And then the narcissist is lying, putting up a fake facade, selling the interview, so they can secure what they want. You know, people, when they're around people, it soothes them. It gives them what they're missing from their childhood. Or the transition, like the Grandiose Narcissist. Got a marker on me. I've been teaching. The Grandiose is trying to live up to expectations that were always put on them, or praise that they thrived upon. And when they got out in the real world, it disappeared. Or they're still uncomfortable about trying to reach what they should have. Their life feels unfinished, I guess, because they're trained that they're supposed to be this perfect person. That's why a lot of times they'll lie about it. And then the vulnerable narcissist has been trying for so long to please the parents, or to even survive. If they get out of that, you know, it's hopeless. You know, I'm tired of pleasing them. I just want to get by. So they'll, you know, fake certain things, or play the pity me, you know. So just be aware of the outcome of the trauma that they're placing upon us. It's an exchange of energy. And, you know, when we give our energy, it's kind of, like we expect it back. It's like we're, you know, letting them borrow our energy. Just like if I want to say hi, it's like, I just gave you some energy and you want it back, and you're balanced again. But the narcissist, especially with that silent treatment and the intermittent responses, you're giving and giving and giving, and you're starting to get empty. And then they give you a little bit back. That's where all this imbalance starts going on, because it is an exchange of energy. And we're polite enough, you know, if they reach out to us, hey, can you pick up some milk? We at least get that energy back with, no, sorry, I'm busy, or I wish I could, or yeah, of course I will. But the silent treatment, or the disregard, or the confusion, like, I'll be home at 6, and you're like, it doesn't tell me if you're getting the milk or not, and so should I go get it? And then, you know, they come home and they didn't bring milk, and you're like, I thought you were bringing it. And then they're like, you know that I had a busy day at work, or they just start throwing everything off. You know, and we try to stay positive or to readjust when things get negative. We do get caught in reactive abuse, which is where we're replying to them. And then we start having all that uncomfortable stuff in our brain. It's continuing causing trauma to us. When you try to fix something and they cut you down, fix the relationship, and they cut you down or turn it around on you, or they're giving us negative energy. They feed off of the negativity, whether they were like they just need chaos because they need energy. We need calmness, love. Love makes the narcissist uncomfortable. And it's interesting how without a true love connection, there's no need to stay in a relationship. The only time the narcissist will stay is if it meets their needs, but there's not that heart connection. And it's kind of like if any of you are parents, you have a deeper connection with your individual child than other children. It's because of the time invested. It's because of the pride of being blessed. And the narcissist just sees each other person as an object. They don't have that deep connection. And it's really sad how they'll just suck empathetic people dry. Narcissists can be with other narcissists, but it's super toxic. They just kind of feed off each other's negativity. It's a lot more volatile. They can be with any type of person. It's not always an empathetic person, but the empathetic people, I believe, are the ones that are hurt the most, because we care the most. And they always say the one that cares the most is the one that gets hurt the most. And, we're loving this person because of fake promises, or, of course I'll stick by you, or, you're my soulmate. They love to say that, so we're like, wow, like, why would they get rid of me? We're perfect for each other. And you get all excited about it. And over time, the narcissist is just gonna get worn down. It's kind of like they get used to it. If you ever see parents, we're going to talk about parents again. I only have one child, but you'll see, like, your first mothers, we'll just go with the mothers. The mothers are like all excited and they're trying to do everything right, and they're kind of like nervous and excited. And then they have their second and third and fourth child, and I'm like, oh. And you guys love them, I'm sure, just as much, but you're kind of like worn out. You're like, oh, I don't have the same energy that I did. Or, you start learning, like, hey, just go to your room. As a patient, mommy would really like you. And you just learn things as you have kids. And it kind of transitions. So the narcissist, I believe, as they go through all these different relationships, they get worn out, because, they're just like a worn out mother, where it's like, we've already gone through this and now I gotta do this again. And it does get tiring. Like, I'm not discounting it in a bad way. It does get tiring. Or you just kind of expect, or it's like they're just going to throw their temper tantrum, and it didn't work last time to coddle them, so they can work it out. And so the narcissist kind of learns little different things on how to get their supply. And they don't want to give all that energy. Just like, the first time mom, it's like they're younger, they have more energy anyways. The narcissist is getting older too. And, they're like, I thought that trick would work. And just be really cautious on these narcissistic relationships. They will bleed you dry. They will start to wear you out. Usually when you're in love, you get that energy. You don't have to sleep as much. Just sleeping next to your honey bunch, you only need 3 or 4 hours and you're good to go. You can do that for quite a while, and you feel like a loss after these relationships. So you're sleeping more just because that energy is gone. That's because they took it. A lot of times too, this is, I had just said this to my ex. It's like, He was terrible. Like I didn't know what was up. We were supposed to be starting our future together. And then all of a sudden you get ghosted and you're like, are you alive or dead? And I kept giving that energy. And I said I gave my first ex credit because he at least called off the wedding. He wanted to postpone it, didn't know till when. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. So we just, he's like, what's it going to take to keep you? And I said, well, because I already sent out my invitations, had my bridal shower, and he didn't have a reason for it. Like, what are we going to work out on, or what's going to change? We've already lived together for over a year. We have a kid. But I give him credit because at least he gave back the energy, like, yes, I will marry you. And then either postpone or cancel everything. I got my energy back. Not what I wanted to hear, but I got that energy back. On the second one, I'm putting, are you alive or dead? Are you okay? On and on. And I was just left with like so much emptiness. We finally ended up talking. At least I got some of the energy back, but he still was so sporadic and sucking energy with silent treatments for no apparent reason. It's not like we were in an argument. So you're trying to figure out like what's going on, because it just didn't make sense. Because every time we saw each other, we got along great. And we're wasting energy on people who are just going to suck it from us. And just be careful on the trauma that is caused. So I know some of you are struggling with this trauma bond. It can be painful. It can be confusing. There is a lot of hurt that we want to just take care of the hurt. And we see them as what caused the pain. And so that's why we're drawn back to that. That's the source of the pain. So that's where somehow in our mind, that's what fixes it. But we got to realize that going to the source of the pain, it's like going back into a burning house. It's not going to fix the pain. It's going to make it worse. Even if it gives you shelter for a little bit of time, it's still a burning house. It's not healthy. It's just not healthy. So the different kinds of trauma you're going through, it comes out in irritability or anxiousness or depression. It will get better. It's up to you to take the steps forward. So don't get stuck in that rut. Cry when you need to, but also take care of yourself. And just know you're not crazy. You didn't do anything wrong. That's just how they are. That's why the divorce rates are so high. Second and third marriages, the percentages go up with each consecutive marriage because people don't learn most of the time. They just give up. And that's kind of what the narcissist will do, is there's something that is going to start the devaluation stage. Whether it's a temptation with a new supply or something about you changed. It can be very little. You're thinking sometimes you're doing the right thing, and they just will tear it apart. Let's say you're like, I don't know, something silly, but you're like, I want us to have healthy food, so I'm going to garden this year. And so you planted more strawberries, and now they're pissed off that now they got to have strawberry cake again or strawberry pie, or they don't have to eat it, and you didn't expect to have that many strawberries grow in the garden. It just flourished this time. And like, that's what you got yelled at for. And then they're irritated. They don't voice their concerns, or, they don't tell you, can we can some of these so we're not eating so many? They just start devaluing you. And no matter what you say, they don't want to hear your reasonings. They don't want to hear last year we didn't have that many strawberries, or they don't want to hear that I thought strawberries were your favorite, wanted to make sure you had enough. They just get irritated. And that's because they're uncomfortable with themselves. And if you guys have any topics you'd like to talk about, let me know. I'd love to make a video for you. I've been doing that for several people, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day.